The first time I ever set foot on any stage was at the Michigan Theater when I was 5 years old. It was the Ann Arbor Ballet Theater's production of The Nutcracker, and I had the highly coveted role of doll number 3, which amounted to a whopping 3 minutes of stage time. And as soon as I walked into the stage door, I was hooked. Between the backstage area, all the makeup, my fancy costume, I was captivated by the theater before I ever set foot on that stage. As soon as I made my entrance, I discovered that there was nowhere else that I would rather be than on that stage for the rest of my life, and I milked that 3 minutes of stage time for all it was worth. At one point, my poor parents sitting in the audience thought they'd have to get the hook to get me off stage. I made my exit in time, like the true professional I was, but I was the absolutely last doll on that stage. And that insatiable need to steal every scene continued throughout my stage career. I'd learned how to do this from the best, after all, through watching performances, both professional, on-screen, and live at the Michigan Theater. Growing up, my family and I spent a lot of time at the Michigan Theater for both live performances and films. And I was in quite a few of those live performances, especially when they involved local theater organizations. So my parents spent a lot of time waiting in the audience, watching me on stage. My father was well known for both his boisterous laugh and his willingness to start a round of applause at any time. So he was always a welcome fixture in the auditorium. When he passed a few years ago, my mother and I were going through his belongings and found boxes of old programs from my many performances at the Michigan Theater, including a program from that very first Nutcracker performance all those years ago. I couldn't believe he'd held on to those for all those years. So you can see why it made sense, when my mother and I were looking for a creative way to honor his memory, that we decided to sponsor theater seats at the Michigan Theater. This place meant so much to my father, as evidenced in his program collection. Here was a way to ensure not only my father's legacy as an enthusiastic audience member, especially for his daughter, but also support an institution that has meant so much to my family. We each have a seat right next to each other so that we are forever sitting together in the audience as a family. And every time I think about that, I remember the many holidays and weekends we spent here during my childhood. Losing my father was incredibly difficult, but it helps to think of his name on that seat, along with my mother's and mine, together, as long as the Michigan Theater stands, which hopefully will be for another century or more. Because of this long and personal history with the Michigan Theater, applying to be part of the development team was a no-brainer. And quite frankly, working here is the perfect marriage of skills and passion for me. I'm able to speak enthusiastically about both the Michigan and state theaters to anyone who will listen, because where else can you see the best of Hitchcock and the latest James Bond all under one glorious roof? Not only am I working to preserve the history of this beloved organization, but I'm also working to preserve my father's memory. This is the one place where we are still able to sit together as a family, and just walking into this beautiful auditorium brings back all sorts of wonderful memories of my father. How fortunate I am to get to revisit his warm laugh every day that I come into work.